In this episode of the Pathmark Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Martin Michels, and he is heading over as a head of performance marketing for LoveTheSales. And today we're going to be learning, what LoveTheSales is all about. I can already tell you that much. It's a platform for more than 1 million people that use LoveTheSales in order to get the best deals on designer brands. So you can get a brief insight of that already, but we want to learn much more from Martin and specifically how he's thinking about growth. So Martin, welcome to the show.
Hi, Lucas. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Very good. Yeah. So give us a quick rundown. What is LoveTheSales all about?
So LoveTheSales is a marketplace for fashion deals where we're aiming mainly that's mainly for the consumers, and then we have another part of customer, which is the retailer itself, where we kind of offer them the increase in their sales through and the margin on the discounted products. So maybe in retail, once a product is in discount, it goes really fast and you lose quite quickly margin. So we help you sell their products as fast as possible.
Very cool. Yeah, so definitely let's talk today about the both sides, the consumer sides as well as the B2B side. Maybe tell us, at first about who would be a typical customer, who would be using the platform as a user, but also what types of retailers that you guys would be working with. What makes a retailer a good partner?
So as a consumer, which consumers use it, I think, as I said, people looking for aspirational brands, but then for a deal. So get the more expensive brands on a good deal. And that can be people actually looking for them. They want the deal already, or people having an idea what they want, and they can come to the website and they actually think oh, if that goes into a deal. Types of consumers that we're kind of really aiming for.
Mm-hmm.
From a retailer, we look for retailers that match that type of brands that they sell, but it can be everything from a specific brand, like a Lacoste that brings it to a website, or other marketplaces that also have combinations of different brands and they all put them on sale. But in the end, we only aggregate for sales. So we really looking for good discounts.
Gotcha. Makes a lot of sense. Super interesting. Obviously, a lot of people on the show, we've been talking a lot on the show about sort of e-commerce type of growth and different growth strategies, and we're going to lightly touch on this. But I'm also very curious to learn with you today about sort of the growth strategy for bringing on that retailers. But maybe let's stick first with the consumers. What's the typical journey? How does somebody get to know you guys? What are the typical channels that you guys are exploring and maybe tell us a little bit about that typical journey.
Yes, so just reference, I just started 2.5 months ago. So that's also where they really start focusing on paid media. The company is really built from the tech of behind the website is really strong and really good. So it gives us a really good way of building and scaling up the business. After that, they really focused on organic traffic. So we drive at the moment 60% of the traffic is actually organic, which is especially for a marketplace like LoveTheSales. I think it's a really big share and in a really good position as well. So I think that's the key what we do so far, and that's what we want to maintain. So it gives all the free traffic. And from their side, there's also lots happening in PR, blogging, finding interesting news articles, using data to see what's going on in the market.
Mm-hmm.
Then from the next step in growth is from a paid part, it's looking in kicking off with Google ads, shopping ads. So because my experience is mainly Google ads, that's the first channel we push forward now, and they had something live. So we're scaling that up. Then we move to shopping ads. And then we start looking this very intent driven. So we mainly target people that have the intent to buy a deal. Mm-hmm. And then the next stage is deal. I think that's the piece. At first, people with intent, make that in a really profitable way, and then start looking can we get the marketing in front of the intent as well.
Makes sense. Intent-driven e-commerce seems to be an emerging topic at the very moment. It's been coming up in a couple of shows, so that's very interesting. Maybe let's talk a little bit about the other side. How do you as a marketer think about growth with the actual B2B partners? Is that something you would be involved with? How does that, happen?
So I'm not really involved at that. So it's kind of my colleague from the PR side and from owned media and my manager, who's also kind of the CEO of the company. So those are kind of really looking after the retailers. The main thing that we're trying to do is kind of look at the demand and kind of what do consumers want and what can we offer on our website and where are the gaps. So what should we be selling that type of inventory in the market? So I think that's kind of mainly, but yeah, so it's not, I really focus on the consumer side for my part of the business at the moment.
Makes sense. Very cool. Maybe let's talk a little bit about the website, right? Because obviously in e-commerce companies, the website is key, is the golden entry door for customers to actually, buy the products. How do you, how do you think about the website? Like, how do you, for example, analyze? Or maybe let's put it like this: how do you think about it in terms of its strengths and its major room for improvements? You've been joining a couple of months ago. I'm sure you've had a lot of experiences with optimizing websites for conversion. Like, what's your current perspective? Where do you see a strength of the website? Versus where do you see room for improvement?
So I think like one of the big things of LoveTheSales is that once you log in, you kind of get an AI recommendation system. I think that's a really strong feature of what we have. And we will try to find the best deals that we think are fit for you. I think that's a really strong point of the website. The other one, it's a really flexible website. So it's very easy to create different types of landing pages with different types of fashion that really matches the campaigns we're driving. So we can really kind of go in depth in terms of landing pages. And then we have like, so we can really detail kind of what we want to show the customer. And I think that's a really good thing to have, like if you want to run very detailed paid search campaigns or shopping ads campaign. So I think that's like one few of the strengths of the website. Improvements of the website, I think like it's still something, it's a really difficult one. It's kind of the ranking of what do you show as the first tile on your website, what do you show the second tile. How do you, if you build like a very detailed website and you don't have enough inventory because we have like a quite high turnover in inventory, do you pause the landing page or you pause the campaigns? But ideally you kind of you fill it up with similar items. And how do you do that? So I think those are the two key things that we try to look into to kind of figure out how can we build that more out to really keep campaigns going and going, especially with a high turnover fashion deals.
Interesting. I mean, that's quite curious because somebody like yourself, having worked on high scale pages as well, like how do you typically think about figuring out why people don't convert? Like what would be sort of your approach to getting closer to that answer?
That's a very interesting question. We just looked into that not so long ago. So I think there are like two parts of it. One is your campaign side. So what happens in your campaign? What is not converting for your campaigns? And on the other side is kind of where does it not convert on your website? So I think it's trying to break these two things down. So from a website, it's kind of try to really visualize customers go and where do you drop off. And that's kind of, it makes it a bit difficult, like because you have so many different entry pages and different ways of how you can go to the product and to the basket eventually. In our case, our website is still kind of flexible in terms of 50% of the traffic buys a deal on the basket, so through the basket on the website. The other 50% of the traffic is sent out to an affiliate partner, where we kind of lose complete visibility. So is the traffic we send to the affiliates, is that an affiliate problem? Yes, no. So I think that's like the very big, that's question one. Where is the problem from our side of conversion rate? Is it an affiliate problem? Is it a basket problem? And then you kind of break it down, kind of, are people not converting when they add a product to the basket? Is it people not even getting to the basket? People not clicking on the products? Don't we show enough products? And then you can break it down. If people, for example, look at the products but don't add it to the basket, and we see conversion dip there. It's like then you have basically the next dimension is kind of, do you see it for a specific category? Do you see it for a specific brand? Is it something related with the sizes available? Because of course we do deals, we don't have all the sizes available all the time. So where do you find these correlations? And that's kind of thing from a website point of view, much like kind of if somebody enters the website and stays on the website, where do we see the conversion issue?
Yeah.
From a campaign level, it's kind of I normally kind of just look at what is the smallest number of dimensions we have, and then you start looking at some difference between the two dimensions. So let's say we have Google Ads and Shopping Ads live, do Google Ads and Shopping Ads, and then use organic ads maybe as a kind of standardized test channel. Do we see like a conversion drop across everything, or do we see it in one channel?
Mm-hmm.
If we see it in one channel, we go dive into that channel. Go to the next stage, kind of, do we see it for Google Ads? Do we see it in search partners? Do we see it in Google? Do we see it on mobile? Do we see it on desktop? So you kind of just break it down bit by bit, like to kind of broaden your amount of dimensions you have. So I start with the smallest dimensions that I see. Is a big difference. We can focus on one dimension, taking the assumption that the main issue will be there, and we will figure out where it is. And it might be that the campaigns actually perfectly fine eventually come to the most granular stuff. And it can be, and then you kind of move on to the landing page. And from the website, you kind of do the same thing. Like you look at the smallest dimension, which is kind of basket versus affiliate, and then you start just breaking down kind of, and it's more like a yes, no on the website, but kind of where do you see smaller dimensions, so you can easily pinpoint where the issue lies.
Super interesting. I mean, very like two-sided process. It makes a whole lot of sense. Since we're slowly coming to an end of the interview, I would love to jump into a couple of questions to get to know you a little bit better. So there is a lot of content out there on growth marketing, right? And a lot of A/B test results, a lot of tips and tricks. Like, what are the places that you like to read? Like, how do you educate yourself in order to, be able to also kind of like filter from all the noise?
Ooh, that's a very good question. So I normally go to the very basics. Like I'm kind of like to kind of just scroll to search engine and go to like all the Google updates. And besides that, I read actually quite a lot of books, more like in general, kind of the decision making, like thinking fast, thinking slow. Google kind of for websites, kind of where they actually discuss these things. And I not really go to like one specific website. I kind of just try to kind of spread it out, kind of use or Google or like books that I always refer from friends, and then I dive just into it. But I really like to read books about it, like more like go not just focus, okay, what is happening on Google or what's happening on a website, but actually what is the bigger psychology behind something, or what is the bigger idea behind something that we specified to e-commerce, because it comes from like a bigger view. It's not just somebody thinks like, oh, that works for e-commerce. Does it work for travel? Does it work for the car industry? So I still kind of look, for example, at travel websites, because I worked in the travel industry for such a long time. There's still so much interesting stuff happening there that you can actually adapt and use for fashion. When I worked for the travel industry, I kept an eye on the retail industry, because they, in certain cases, they are so far ahead that you think like, oh, we can actually use those things and bring it back to travel.
Yep.
But I don't really have like a specific list, and I just say, okay, that is where I go, and that's it. It's kind of keep looking, keep finding new interesting things.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Cool. I want to wrap it up with some rapid fire questions. Are you ready for those?
Yeah, sure.
What's the last book you read?
I'm reading at the moment Hitler's Pianist. So it's about a guy who plays the piano for Hitler.
What's the one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
At the moment, we're bringing on retailers.
Mm-hmm. If there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be the one thing you would have fixed for your role today?
Have a data-driven model that predicts conversion rate for every single item on the website.
Mm-hmm. What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
Performance drop.
Mm-hmm. And if today would be essentially, if we're doing a little bit of time travel, right? And if we are going back to the days of Tilburg University, and basically launching into your career of performance or of marketing, for that matter, what's the one advice you would give yourself?
Could you repeat that one?
Sure. So, sure. If we're going back to the days of Tilburg University, what's the one advice you would give yourself for your career in marketing?
One advice: do more hands-on internships.
Very, very good. Martin, I really appreciate you took the time with us today and gave us an insight about the company, about what you guys are doing at LoveTheSales, how you're thinking about growth, and also about your journey for a little bit. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about LoveTheSales, what's the one thing that they should be remembering?
If you're looking for like a good deal, go to LoveTheSales, best place to shop fashion.
That's short and succinct. Thanks a lot for being a guest on Partner Presents.
Thank you, Lucas.